My vulnerable population is parents of a child with impairments. Media portrayal of parents taking care of impaired children has become more positive over the years. And this, I think, is partly due to more of a cultural and society awareness of handicapped children and more of a support towards families as well. They still often make the parents look like they're struggling with the life stressors that come with the handicapped children and tend to make it look like it's hard for them to manage. Part of this is true. A lot of families do struggle with trying to find time to balance the multiple life stressors that come with the handicapped child. Things like financial burdens and finding time for themselves. If media portrayal shows strong community support that's more positive, it can bring a stronger, more positive outlook towards parents as well as community understanding and offering to help parents when they need it. Family support is very important for these parents as well. It gives them somebody to help with running errands and help with chores and helps reduce workload on parents and their stress levels. It also gives the parents somebody to help watch the child when they are burned out or need a break from everything, giving them a chance to unwind a little bit and take some time for themselves. Parents of impaired children are at a higher risk for isolation, depression, and thoughts of hopelessness. Family support can help reduce the risk of developing these for parents. Um, and on the other hand, parents with poor family support are left to take care of the family system by themselves, putting them at risk for developing poor mental health as well as stress-related illnesses. Peer support is also very important to these parents. It helps to keep them from isolating and helps keep them involved in the community. Support groups and interaction with other parents who also have a disabled child gives these parents a sense of normalcy and provides them with someone to talk to who understands what they're going through and gives them somebody to kind of look for resources as well. A lack of peer community support can lead to isolation, feelings of failure, and depression for these families. Parents with impaired children don't have a vulnerability that is passed down from generation to generation, but some disabilities are genetic and they can be passed down through family members, putting other family members at risk for having an impaired child. Something that I thought of that may be increase the risk for vulnerability for this population is that mental health conditions can be passed down from generation to generation, putting parents with impaired children at a higher risk for developing mental health issues, including depression, anxiety, and thoughts of suicide. There's a lot of legal and political programs in place to help parents with impaired children develop skills on how to care for their child. There's a lot of support groups and different programs that have been set up through the state and nationally. Parents of impaired children may need help with legal issues, such as setting up guardianship, social security, and finding medical help with medical bills. There are legal programs that are available, but these are at a cost for families to use. In some areas, misconceptions of disabilities can lead to poor legislative measures that do more harm than help families in certain situations. Some cultural barriers would be misconceptions of the handicap of why a handicapped child has happened. In some cultures, it can put parents at risk for being displaced from the community and increased risk for isolation. And in some communities, there's cultural beliefs that the family is being punished for having a handicapped child. Parents are put under a spell, or they've been practicing witchcraft, or they've been cursed by a demon, putting parents at risk for being shunned from the community and put in an isolative area. Women who have a disabled child in certain countries, it's believed that they are being punished for a sin that they've committed. Most often, the sin is adultery. This puts the parent at risk for punishment for their sin, including abuse, isolation, and in some cultures, even death. Developing countries have a lot of stigmas and misconceptions about why a baby is born handicapped. Most of these put blame on the parents for some kind of action that they've done, or the family is being punished for something that somebody in the family has done. This increases the parents' risk for support system as well as increases the risk of social isolation. Belief that the family is being cursed or punished can put the family causes the parents to be shunned and excluded from the community, increasing their social isolation and risk for depression as well. Some social economic issues that may affect parents with impaired children is lack of resources. It can make it difficult for parents to find support when needed. In poor socioeconomic areas, they have a decreased understanding of why a person is handicapped. A lack of understanding puts parents at risk for social isolation due to fear from others of why the child is handicapped. They may not want to be around the parent, fearing that they may bring something onto themselves or their family. Social economic status may prevent the parent from being able to get medical help for themselves or their child. This increases the parent's risk of developing stress-related diseases, mental health issues may not be addressed, as well as feelings of hopelessness and not being able to properly care for their child, increasing the risk for mental health issues. Parents of children with disability are at a higher risk of developing mental health issues. Race can play a factor in mental health, and in the United States, the highest ethnicity at risk for developing mental health issues are white. Increased stress and lack of time to care for self put parents at risk for developing stress-related illnesses. Stress-related illnesses can also be tied to race as well. Some races have a higher risk of developing certain diseases related to stress. Religious beliefs can bring stigmas against the parent in certain cultures. Belief that the parent is being punished or cursed puts the families at risk for not being included in the church system and their religion in the area. Religious beliefs and support can give families a group that they belong to, decreases their risk of isolation, and gives families a sense of purpose and hope. So not being able to be included in religion in the area can increase their risk of isolation. And then certain religious beliefs may prevent treatments to the handicapped child or parent, and this can increase the parent's strain or stress over how to properly care for their child, increasing their risk for developing mental health issues because they feel like they are not caring for their child in a way that they can best possibly do. Gender for health concerns for this population. Women in developing countries that have a handicapped child may be punished for adultery or belief that they are participating in witchcraft. Women are at higher risk for developing mental health disorders than men. This is partly due to the fact that being a full-time caregivers put parents at risk, a higher risk for developing mental health and stress-related diseases, whereas family members who are able to work a full-time job as well as care for the family have better mental health outcomes. And because women are most likely the parent to stay home and take care of the children than men, this puts them at a higher risk of developing mental health and stress-related diseases because of this. Gender traits can also contribute to the ability to find effective coping skills to help deal with the stress and anxiety and depression that can come with being a full-time caregiver. Women often take a more positive outlook to coping mechanisms than men do, giving women less risk of developing anxiety and depression overall if they can develop good coping skills. Location can affect the amount of resources and support that parents have. Telehealth and telemedicine can give parents medical help that they may not have access to in their area. There's also online support groups that are available for caregivers, which help focus on different disabilities and gives them more resources and more people that they can talk to that have their child has the same disability as theirs, giving them a stronger support system. And then areas that are rural may not be set up for the handicapped child's needs, forcing parents to spend more time at home, increasing the risk of isolation from the community. A lot of biases for this population are more related to the impaired child versus the parent. Implicit fears would be that the disabled just fears about what happened to make the child be disabled may affect the parents. And then a misunderstanding about what the family is able to do with the handicapped child may prevent families from being involved in community events. Explicit biases would be prejudices, stigmas, and misunderstanding about why the child is handicapped puts blame on the parent. And then cultural belief that the parent did something wrong and is being punished. On an international scope, parents who live in the first world countries have higher access to healthcare resources and support. Access to healthcare resources prevent long-term complications to health. It gives them help with respite care and resources to prevent burnout. Parents who have a stronger support system are less likely to suffer from burnout, depression, and loss of self-esteem. And they have more resources available online for families to find a sense of community support around them as well.